Yep.
We didn't have to fuck with any kind of science. Hi, Cass. Oh, Thanos Jerry, you're still here. Third Railify. Hey, Sean. Oh, the other Sean with you. I see Sean has taken a liking to Sean. Remember when you guys used to make fun of Sean for? Hey, look, you've popped up. I love it. You just pop up. I don't need to switch scenes. What's up?
Hello.
We were talking about that tweet I put out about scientifically explaining why men don't need to be forced into liking penis just because a man is dressing like a woman.
What a way to start a topic. Hello, everyone. Hello. Who's that by there? Who's that?
That's Rebel with her baby. Kid,
Hello.
whatever you call it. Whatever you call it.
I know you can't hear me, but I'll pretend you can. But it's great to see everyone. Hopefully everyone's doing well. A little late, but please carry on, Joey.
That's okay. You were doing a show. I wanted to show something for Thanos Jerry since he's doing he does a wrestling podcast and stuff. I got some tweet that has got like a ridiculous amount of likes and it's wrestling related, so I just want to show him before we move on.
Sure.
Right.
I know. It's not easy being on a panel, kid. Oh, look, a cat. A dog. I can't tell from here.
Cat, dog, doesn't matter.
There's a dog behind me.
Oh.
You go.
My eyesight's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, they are corgis, so they're little.
You should see how close I am to my 55-inch TV. That's how bad my eyes are too. Where the hell is this stupid fucking tweet?
I don't know.
I'm looking for it. Oh, here it is. Okay. So, here we go. Now I got to reshare my screen because I didn't want you guys to see all the pornography I like on X. And I'm kidding.
And the answer to Motley earlier is Genghis Khan. Because
Genghis Khan it on. All right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Here we go, Thanos Jerry. Here's this sequence that someone was referring to from the wrestling show last night. Here, let me rewind it.
Oh no.
Those pants are hideous.
Now watch, he's just gonna get up, ignoring the move, and then this guy said garbage, very, very much a garbage sequence. And I tagged Dave Meltzer, of course. Thanos Jerry will know who that is. And I said probably would say that since the fans cheered, then it doesn't matter that there was no logical consistency. Well, except when it's Hogan versus The Rock, then the crowd response is irrelevant. Thanos Jerry will understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, moving on. Moving on to the next segment of the show, which is, what was the next segment of the show? There was no segments.
The Odyssey, maybe?
Yeah, I guess it made the money back, apparently. It actually broke even, so I guess congratulations. After going woke and going broke, you can, once in a while, still make something that people will see. I personally think that the right brought too much attention to it, and it made people curious about seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it goes both ways. Like, if you bring attention to stuff, like, even, like, as they say, even bad publicity is good publicity. And then people that wouldn't have seen it, but are just like, well, I think it's a great thing that they did a diverse cast, I'm going to go see this anyways, just to spite them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Don't mind me. It's just I zoned out as soon as I heard of the Odyssey.
Like, Motley, Genghis Khan was a mass murderer, but he was also a mass breeder.
Look, no one has a problem when Mongolians do it, because in the grand scheme of things, Mongolia isn't important anymore. So,
The Who has a new music video, though. I saw that. It was like something like some about my father or something like that. I haven't watched it yet, but as far as Mongolians go, at least the Mongolian metal throat singing is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why the Russians are so brutal, is because of their Mongolian experience. Hello again. Yeah. How you doing?
Sean of Third Railify says, a key that opens up many locks is a master key. A lock opened up by many is a shitty lock. That's a good, very, very, very good metaphor right there.
Well, I'm always happy to work with people who can open doors, because knocking down is too difficult. It's too difficult. But I don't know why, but my camera My camera is mirrored for some reason. I don't know why.
That could be because of the video room. I don't know.
I don't
Everything.
know.
Yeah, I spent the whole like if I used to have the shitty. I switch scenes every time someone comes in, and I've made it dynamic now. So you just popped in, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was a beautiful thing, and I much appreciate it. But there could be some kinks that we need to iron out. Kinks might be the wrong word. Chinks, kinks. What if we iron out chinks that have kinks?
Oh no! Don't get me started on the Chinese
There'd be a
or
lot
the
less cheap porn.
Japanese
Get started on
or
the
anyone who's
Chinese.
Oriental. Oh dear.
The Oriental. Wow, it's like 1970s pro wrestling now. He comes from the Oriental.
Yes, that's how I differentiate between them. It's like I call them Oriental. Let me just put my things on.
Yeah, the Orientals are the Chinese, and Korean and Japanese, and then the Pajits are the Indians. Indians don't like to be called Asian unless it's convenient for them, as far as test scores go, or some shit. But
I saw
when
like a statistic the other day on like the amount of like fake degrees. Like people are actually getting scared now if their doctor's Indian. It's like, yeah.
Well, they should be. They should be. In
Uh,
all honesty, there's a reason the British were as that's where I come from. I come from the United Kingdom.
really,
Is a reason
I'm kidding.
Britain was tyrannical against the Indians for 400 years because how can 100,000 people control 400 million people?
Yeah,
Very brutally. Okay,
mm,
and the last thing we let the Indians do was make more little ones because that would make them even more dangerous. Okay, by the end of the century, population worldwide will be about 10 billion, and 1.5 of those billion will be Indian. So for every 30 people on Earth, 2 of them will be Indian. It's one in. Oh, that's a lot of people. 15% of the planet,
that's
folks.
a lot of
For
phone
every 100,
scammers.
yeah, for every 100 people, 15 of them are Indian. That's terrifying.
It
That
is
should
terrifying.
terrify everyone,
Right? Could you imagine all the
right?
car accidents?
mm.
Yes, yes. I mean, look, if you wanna protect, let's say you want to protect America, right?
Build
You
more trains.
build more trains, build more cars, build anything remotely mechanical, right? Build a lot of electrical systems because these people are like the Roadrunner, right? They will run straight into an electrical system and fry themselves. I have
Build
seen
shallow pools with concrete bottoms.
hmm? I have seen Indian people from India climb pylons and electrocute themselves just for the fun of it, right?
Wow.
And they can't read the warning signs. They don't know how dangerous it is. These people are very dangerous, right? And you don't want one of them to be governor of Ohio. You don't. You really don't. But yeah, I'm just scrolling through my X account, and I'm just seeing, images of dogs and game streams and sluts going through airports. I know it's crazy.
How
It's
about that?
crazy, isn't
How
it?
about that annoying X trend where it was like, hold the picture, and then it shows some other shit, and I'm like, oh my god, is this what the For You tab has in store for me?
Oh yeah, this is all on my For You tab. I'm now seeing a video of a Japanese account promoting bunny rabbits. It's like, what are we doing? Because that's
So,
what social media is all about now, right? And you've got Rebel here. Hello, first time talking to you. And look, as someone who's in their mid to late 20s, right, who grew up in the 2010s, I know I don't look 27, but I am. I fear for the young generation. I fear for those kiddos growing up in a world that's never been more chaotic than it is today. It's quite scary, right? I Look. Best of luck to you, lady. You're gonna need it. I mean, thinking about it, the year is 2026. In 10, 15 years' time, that's 2036, 2041. The world will be a radically different place by then. Radically different. I mean,
Mm.
10 years ago, sites like this, sites like StreamYard, didn't exist. It was all Google Hangouts. It's like, God,
Ugh.
I remember Google Hangouts. Never used it though. And it'll be radically different in the future. So we got to make the most of the time we have now and try to bring, as hard as this sounds, especially on Rumble, but bring together as many people as possible because there's a flood coming. And if we're all on our little ships, we're all going to get battered by the flood.
Makes a
Speaking of
person want to
flood,
move to Poland.
oh, I tell you, in regards to what we're facing, no country, no people have an antidote to it. It's sad. And the
Yeah.
countries that try to fight back against it, they either have to fight pitch battles like the Russians, or they have to do some crazy shit like the Chinese. Chinese have to do some crazy shit to
And
stave
nobody,
off
like,
this.
nobody says anything, well, like,
Mhm,
a little p every once in a while, you
mhm.
hear stuff, like,
Oh,
about the Uyghurs or something like that.
mhm.
She's alright.
Yeah,
I know,
remember
right?
when?
But, like,
Remember
like,
when?
they're burning
Oh,
down mosques, they're, like,
mhm,
imprisoning Muslims, and
yep.
everyone's just like, "Oh, I don't see anything."
Mhm. Yeah, the free to. Does anyone remember the free Tibet movement
Mhm.
and how it
Yes.
came crashing down the moment China got any power and influence in international affairs? Remember that? I do. Oh, see, look, the kiddo remembers it. So it was recent.
He's like, yeah, that
Mhm.
shit was crazy, bro.
Mhm. Hello, can you see me? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Young people freak me out because I don't know how they think because they're still thinking.
I don't know how
Um,
either. I wish I could read their minds.
oh, I don't. I just want to understand people. I don't want to read what they're thinking because
Oh yeah, could you
we all
imagine?
we all have our dark thoughts. But it gives me hope, not just as a content creator, but as a person in seeing the younger generation in action. And it might not look like it now, but seeing the sparks of thought, the sparks of action in younger people, that is
Mm-hmm.
a blessing.
Yes.
Your children are a blessing, not only to yourself, not only to your family, but to civilization as a whole. And it's something that governments and communities and society should be encouraging. It should be encouraging more life, more people. Now there are difficulties in managing a lot of people, as we all well know. Just look at the cities, but having more people around is easier for us to manage than having fewer people around. Now it may not be something we ever live to see because the population peak by the end of the century will be about 10 billion. It won't be until the end of the next century, into the 23rd century, when the population collapse really happens, which is why people aren't really taking it too seriously at the moment. It'll only be a problem when it's too late to solve. That's
Mm.
the
I
worst
I
kind of
remember thinking,
problem.
like, I think it was, like, I don't know, 15,
Hmm.
20 years ago when Russia was, like, having those, like, summer camps set up where they were trying to get, like, young, like, older teenagers, young adults to go to music festivals and get married and have kids and stuff like that, and they were just, like, really pushing it hardcore, and I'm just like, "That's really strange. Why are they doing that?" You know?
Mm. They're doing that to prepare for the next conflict when millions of their people get killed. It's not a bug of Russia. It's a feature that every
Yeah.
few generations they massacre their own people.
Yeah.
Um, but we have to learn from other cultures and other peoples on how to develop and how to grow because historically it hasn't always been the West who's been out on top. Maybe it has been in modern history, but it's not guaranteed. When the United States first formed, the biggest power on earth was the Great Qing, the Chinese Empire. But it
Mhm.
wasn't an internationally strong empire, it was just very strong within its own borders. And in 250 years' time, who knows who will be the next great power by
Do you
then?
think England would have, like, its sort of, like
Hmm.
past of just, expanding on itself if they hadn't have been conquered by the Romans? in early Britain, like because
Let's
they had like that like taste of imperialism and the driving the tribes together,
well the term
consolidation.
well the term Anglo-Saxon, which is what we think of when we think of English person.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The origins of Anglo-Saxon is not in England. It's in places like northern Germany, Denmark, and to a certain extent Norway as well. Romans, of course, Italians. The people we call Britons,
The
were the
Britons.
people really in the north of England and in the middle of England. The ones that survived, that is. Of course, you had the Celts, Scots, Welsh, Irish. It was really the strength of the British Empire was in England. England had the brain, the Celtic nations had the brawn. So it's
Hmm.
a perfect synergy, right? But that took a long time and a lot of effort to make possible. England and Scotland, for example, they have a lot in common, but they hate each other. Because if you look at the British Isles, the only people who could really control the British Isles are either the English or the Scottish. Welsh haven't got a hope, right? There just aren't enough of us, and strategically, our landmass is easy
You
to
guys built
control.
up your
And
castles too early and then became a threat way too
oh,
early. If you would have built your castles a little slower, spaced them out a little bit, and then you almost made a comeback with the Tudors and lost
mhm.
it. Like married into like the what was it, the York family
Yeah,
with
they had to mate to end the
yeah,
Wars of the Roses, right? It's like, well, why are you marrying your husband to end a massive period of warfare?
yeah,
That's how the Wars of the Roses came to an end and the Tudor family came to exist. No, you'll learn about that when you're 50, kid, because you won't learn
yeah.
it in high school. I'll tell you that.
Margaret
Yeah.
Beaufort, like people, like, you talk about her and people are just like,
Mhm.
no. It's just like, yeah,
Mhm.
12-year-old bride, lost her husband before her son was born, protects her son by sending him to France,
Mhm.
plays the game at court for years and years and years, finally brings her son home and marries her to a York princess and then puts her son on the throne. It's like,
Yep. I.
dang, from an
It's
illegitimate line. You
it's
go,
as
girl.
simple as that, right? When the average life expectancy is 30, right? Because it was. I mean, a lot of people didn't live past 30 in the Middle Ages. Don't be surprised when people underage get at it, because 15 was middle aged. Sorry to say it, guys. I know it rubs people off the wrong way, but if
Right.
you want an explanation as to why people of that period in the long distant past did that sort of thing, it was because living to old age was impossible.
Well,
30 was
there
all.
was no adolescence. Like adolescence is a
No.
20th century thing because it's like
Yeah.
once you started going through puberty or even before that, it's like it's time to get work and it's time to start figuring shit out now. It's not like there's like, oh, I'm gonna just I'm 12 years old, let me go play Call of Duty. No, Call of Duty was getting ready to sign up for your local militia or fucking military or some shit. There was
It,
no, yeah,
it was
yeah,
literal. It was a
Yeah.
literal
right.
call of
The
duty
the best
because you're
the best
gonna.
thing you could have
Mm,
done is be a blacksmith. Nobody kills the
mm,
blacksmith. It's like a rule.
yeah. Yeah, because you need the guy to make the swords and the shields. But we have come a long way. I mean, at the beginning of, I wouldn't say the beginning of time, but at the beginning of the point we consider to be the beginning of time, after Christ died and rose up again. During that period, there were two great empires: the Roman Empire in the west and the Han Empire in the east.
Mm,
Life expectancy was in the 50s and 60s, and both empires were leading the way in development. Both of them fell at similar times, which
that's
led
true.
to a period of great darkness when people were living to 20 and 30, especially with the Black Plague,
Yeah.
right? When being a kid's age was considered middle age. That's the Black Plague, right? You'll learn a
Yeah.
lot about the Black Plague when you get older, kid, because they're
Sorry.
taking
My
over
son.
all the cities. But in all seriousness, it could all just go sideways, just like it did 1,500, 2,000 years ago with those great empires. The United States is a paper tiger. China is a paper tiger. Russia is a bleeding tiger at this point. So who do we look to, Joey? You look at all the countries in the world that could stand up and be like, I can lead the way. There aren't many.
Well, clearly the answer is Somalia.
Oh God, no.
I saw someone say
No.
earlier that I think it was the Quiet Part Pod said Somalia's IQ is 70, so in like 20 years it's going to be 50. No, they're not going to be alive long enough for it to potentially drop that far, so they're probably going to maintain that 60 to 55 area because they won't live long enough for the experience of becoming dumber to even manifest.
I mean,
But
there are a few candidates, right?
what country?
We can't hear you, lovely lady. We can't hear
Yeah,
you because.
I muted her until the baby was settled down, so
Oh.
message me when that happens, Rebel, so I can know.
Yeah, she's.
I don't.
The kid's fine now.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right. Now you're on mute. Because like it was like it was a
Yeah,
piercing
sorry.
scream. I was
I'm like, why are
whoa.
you crying? There's nothing happened to you. But yeah, like I was gonna say, like whoever is maybe got like the Somalians, like taught them what to do, they're like just waiting for them to like just go in and swoop in and steal their money.
Mhm.
It's like they're
You,
not smart enough.
you know it's bad when Italy is your colonial master, right? Because the Italians and the British both ran Somalia together, and it was just a lost cause, right? So the British just said, "Here, Italians have it." Because the Italians, I know a lot of people don't realize this, but the Italians were considered the joke of Europe. This relatively modern nation created, or kingdom created in 1870. It wasn't taken seriously, unlike Germany, which was taken seriously when it ultimately became an empire. Italy was like, well, you're barely European, right? You're not Rome. That was
Yeah.
the joke. You'll never be Rome again. You'll never be the central power. And that manifested in World War II when the Italians they ran away. Their tanks were awful. Their planes were awful. They couldn't organize a piss up in the brewery. It got so bad that the British were sending the Northern Irish against the Italians because why bother? Why bother sending actual troops when you could just send crooks and crims?
Well, yeah, you can tell that by like any British
Mm.
literature written in the 1800s to early 1900s. Like, oh, it's just so hilarious. Like Anthony Trollope, especially, like when he's like writing the Barchester Chronicles, and the one uh, Miss Stanhope that married an Italian. Like they were like constantly just like kind of giving her grief about it, and she's talking about how he was just like, oh, he swept me off my feet and then he like pushed me off a cliff and I broke my leg and now I can't walk, because and then like a room with a view, and when they're visiting Italy and all these upper
Mm.
crust like British people are like, oh yes, we love Italy, but we hate the Italians. They're so like
Yep.
obscene and stupid, and like it's
You,
just hilarious.
you
No
know
offense
it's
to the
bad.
Italians,
You
guys.
you
Sorry.
know it's bad when the Pope is running most of Italy because come on, guys, what are we doing? But that's why in the 19th century and into the 20th century, the colonies that Italy got, places like Albania, places like, hey, shush, places like Albania,
I'm
places
gonna
like
get her a cracker.
Somalia, basically Italy got the dry meat of Africa. Italy tried to invade Africa and attack Ethiopia,
Mm-hmm.
and it took them 2 attempts, Joey, to beat the Ethiopians.
That's
First
not
time
good.
they got crushed, and then the second time, 40 years later, they managed to win, but
You would have thought that the
get
Ethiopians
kicked
would just
out.
be starving the whole time, right? But they couldn't conquer that.
Look, Ethiopia under effective leadership can be a powerhouse, right? They've gotten so much aid, Western aid, over the last 40, 50 years that they're actually making something of their country now, but they're never going to pay back what was given to them. But
Well,
it's a sad fact that Ethiopia and Nigeria are 2 of the leading countries in sub-Saharan Africa now. When 50 years ago, one country was starving to death and the other one was ripping itself to shreds.
Well,
Endel
some people
says
say they
Insane.
have the Ark of the Covenant too in Ethiopia.
Endel says, if we can't reform our Western societies, there really aren't any existing alternatives. I don't even like you asked that question. Who would be next there? I don't know. I always make the joke like whenever things collapse, I'm going to escape to El Salvador. But how long will that be a decent place to go before some shit happens and it goes back to shit? Because that's what's going to happen
Well,
once Bukele's gone. It's just going to go back to shit.
that's why he has to become a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that's why countries like that and peoples like that have to be led by tyrants because the democratic model simply doesn't work there. There are plenty of candidates that could be the next great power, but they're all potentials, right? They haven't manifested their full potential. Countries you don't even think about, countries like Indonesia, for example, right? No one thinks about Indonesia in the grand scheme of things. Even in the context of Islam, no one thinks of Indonesia when Indonesia is the world's biggest Muslim country. We don't think about it because almost none of the terrorists come from Indonesia. They come from Saudi Arabia, and they come from other Muslim countries. Barely any of them come from Indonesia because the Indonesians are very strict. They're very keen on dealing with a problem in two ways. They chuck you out or they put you to the sword. That's about it. But they're a potential candidate. India is a potential candidate, but I don't think any of us are going to like living in that world
No,
where India is the number one power.
not at
Basically, all the potential candidates that aren't the names you think of, the world's not going to be a better place. The world's not going to be a better place if Brazil is the main power in the world. The world's not going to be a better place if Nigeria or Ethiopia or
all. Oh no.
Indonesia was the great power in the world.
Could you imagine? Then they really say we was gangs.
Yeah. Yes, and of all of the African nations, it's sad to say that Nigeria has the most potential when even that country is on the verge of ripping itself to shreds with
Oh yeah,
their
they're
ethnic
murdering
and
Christians like constantly there. It's
yeah, which is
horrific.
crazy. It's crazy because Nigeria is a majority Christian country.
It won't be for long with the way the Muslims are acting.
And that's why it's very important for people to realize that a nation, just like a people's destiny, is determined by actions as much as it is words, right? We have to invest, not just in ourselves, but in our future. I don't scare you that much, do I, little one? See, look, scared. But, we have to invest in our people and also in the next generation, right? It's not a good idea to delete a third of the next generation as they're being born. That just doesn't make any sense. Either get pregnant or don't, right? It's a very simple mindset for me, right? I've never understood the concept of abortion, never mind in its execution, but to me it's always just very logical. Either you do it or you don't do it, right? Just like with warfare, right? You either fight to win or you don't fight at all. You don't do this all weird middle ground of, we'll bomb them and say we won, right? Of course,
We
no
won
one wants a war.
We won 45 times.
Sure.
Good evening, Yankee. Good evening, Yankee Free.
I've never thought of comparing those two together, but as soon as you said that, I was just like completely 100% logical match there. Like, it's just for me, it's always been so irritating because I've been pro-life my entire life. My mom took me to a pro-life rally when I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5, and it's so easy to prevent. And like the excuses people say are like incest, rape, etc. That's like less than 5% altogether with all those other things. Like 95% is just elective. I don't want to.
Yeah, they use the
Sorry.
action. They use what would be the legitimate reasons, and then say that's why we could just do it in any case.
Yeah.
They always get their foot in the door. That's what they do. That's their tactic, is to get the
Yeah.
foot in the door, and then once you concede that ground, then it's almost like you have no excuse to continue to not concede ground. Did I say that
Yeah,
right?
and I actually know somebody whose whose grandfather was a product of rape, and his great grandmother was forced to marry somebody,
Hmm.
and that child took that man's name, and he grew up, served in World War II, became an engineer, designed a part for NASA, had 5 kids and grandkids, and he was a very, very lovely man. I really liked him a lot. He was a great guy, you know?
I think there's this thing in the 20th century. It probably started in maybe it started a little sooner, but like there's this thing where it's like struggling is hard and it's not cool, it's not humane, and it's not fair. So we have to like end all struggling, and that's where this line of thinking comes from. It's like, well, if you were born of rape, then you're gonna, you're not gonna have automatically out the jump. You're not gonna have a good relationship, most likely, with your father. The mother's gonna hate the father, and it's just like it's not fair to bring somebody in that world. But sometimes our greatest motivator is the adversaries that we face in life. So, people
What?
they either get crushed by pressure or they become a diamond with pressure.
Well, to people who say, it's not fair. Well, life isn't fair,
Exactly.
Mhm.
right? We
Life's
don't
not fair,
live.
bro.
We don't live in a fair world. We don't live in a free world, right? We live in a very dangerous world where you've got to understand that if you do not win, you lose. If you do not live, you die.
Hmm.
Right? I know this sounds horrible, but we have to understand that. I know for a fact that if the United States just stayed in its own lane and stayed in its own continent, the American people would be living a golden age right now. Those kids would want for nothing, which would probably be just as bad as well as just as good for them, because, too much of a good thing can make you sick.
Yep.
But no one in the United States would want for anything. However, if America did decide to do that, a lot of countries on Earth would be in a worse position. A lot of them. Japan. I don't even think South Korea would exist under that paradigm. I don't think Taiwan would exist under that paradigm. I don't think most European nations would independently exist in that paradigm. And, that would completely change the world. It would completely change the dynamics. And while it would benefit the American people, it wouldn't benefit the existing system. And that's why you have what you have, right? That's
Miss.
why we see all these endless wars. That's why we see all these endless actions, because the American people, and it's not just, in recent years, I'm talking about arguably since the First World War, but let's just say since the Second World War. The American people have essentially been used for over 80 years to protect the world,
Hmm.
right? Because
Yeah,
there was
around
a
that.
time in America's history where you guys only looked after yourselves, and it worked out pretty well for you guys, I
As it
think,
should be. Yeah, as it should be.
right?
Mr. T in the chat says, I am the product of the failure of my parents' marriage, and they had me so that they could marry. And,
Mm.
That's a good thing, right? Because you came about, so that's good.
mm-hmm.
See?
Sick of Shitty Gov
See, it all,
mockingly says censorship is fun.